It was a quiet evening, the kind where the world feels like it's taking a deep breath before night falls. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting a soft orange glow across the suburban street. A 14-year-old boy named Marcus was walking home, his worn sneakers making a soft scuffing sound on the pavement. His school backpack, a little too big for his frame, hung loosely on one shoulder. Marcus wasn't wealthy. His family lived simply in a modest neighborhood, but he had something far more valuable, a kind heart. As he walked, lost in his thoughts, a car pulled up ahead of him. It slowed, then stopped at the side of the road. Marcus glanced up to see a woman stepping out of the car. She looked a bit flustered, staring at the flat tire with a mix of frustration and worry. He thought her face seemed familiar, but couldn't quite place where he'd seen her before. Without a second thought, Marcus walked up to her. "Do you need help, ma'am?" he asked, his voice calm but kind. The woman paused, then looked at Marcus with surprise. "Oh, I don't know if you could help, but I'm stuck here with no spare tire." The offer to help was simple, but what Marcus didn't know was that this small, selfless act would set off a series of events that would change his life forever. The woman let out a frustrated sigh, her eyes scanning the flat tire with a mix of helplessness and impatience. Her perfectly styled hair was now slightly out of place, and her hands shook as she tried to call for roadside assistance. But the signal was weak, and each call seemed to drop just as quickly as it had connected. She looked out of place here, standing beside a sleek black car with its polished finish reflecting the glow of the streetlights. Dressed in a white coat and heels, she seemed worlds apart from the casual, hardworking vibe of Marcus's neighborhood. Marcus couldn't help but notice her struggle. Without thinking, he approached her. "Ma'am, do you need help?" His voice was steady, warm, and genuine. The woman turned quickly, startled at first, but then her eyes softened when they landed on Marcus. A boy, maybe 14, standing there with a simple yet confident smile, offering to help. There was something about him, a calmness and maturity that didn't match his age. "You know how to fix a tire?" she asked, skeptical but curious, raising an eyebrow. Marcus nodded, unfazed. "Yes, ma'am. My uncle taught me. I've done it a few times before." The woman hesitated for a moment, glancing at the tire and then at Marcus. A brief pause filled the air, as if she wasn't sure whether to trust this young stranger. But her eyes softened, and she finally gave a small smile. "Well, that would be amazing. Are you sure you can handle it?" "Yes, ma'am. Don't worry," Marcus replied with a reassuring smile. He bent down, setting his backpack on the grass beside the car, then began rolling up his sleeves. He was ready to tackle the task. As he worked, Marcus's mind raced. It wasn't just about fixing the tire. He could see the woman's relief building as he made progress. This simple act, this small but real help, meant more to her than he could understand in the moment. As the tire loosened and the new one was set in place, Marcus could see the change in her face. What had started as a small problem, a frustrating moment for this woman, was now a small victory, a victory that didn't just belong to her but to both of them. When he finished, Marcus stepped back, wiping his hands on his jeans. The tire was fixed. "All done," he said, standing up and brushing the dirt off his hands. The woman looked at the tire and then back at Marcus, clearly impressed. I don't know what to say. "Thank you, Marcus. That was really something." Marcus smiled again. "Glad I could help, ma'am." At that moment, Marcus had no idea just how much that small, selfless act would impact not just the woman's day, but his entire future. The next morning, Marcus was jolted awake by his mother's voice calling from the kitchen. "Marcus, come here. You've got to see this." Her tone was a mix of confusion and excitement, pulling him out of his sleepy daze. Rubbing his eyes, he walked in, still in his pajamas, and found his mom holding up the local newspaper. The front page photo immediately caught his eye. There was the woman he had helped the night before, standing proudly next to her car. The headline read, "Kind-hearted teen saves the day." "That's her," Marcus said, his heart pounding as he pointed to the picture, the lady with the flat tire. His mom scanned the article quickly, then read aloud. "Her name is Maye Musk. It says she's a well-known figure in the fashion and business world, and Elon Musk's mom." Marcus' jaw dropped. "You mean the Elon Musk? The Tesla SpaceX guy. Before his mom could respond, the doorbell rang. Both of them exchanged puzzled looks before Marcus stood up to answer it. As he opened the door, there stood Maye Musk, the same woman from the night before, holding a neatly wrapped package and flashing a warm smile. "Marcus," she said with a touch of genuine affection, "I hope I'm not intruding, but I wanted to personally thank you for your kindness yesterday." His mother appeared behind him, wide-eyed with disbelief. "Mrs. Musk?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Please, call me Maye," the woman replied, stepping inside. "You have an extraordinary son, Mrs. Carter." Marcus's heart raced as Maye handed him the package. "Open it," she urged gently. Inside, Marcus' eyes widened in disbelief. A brand new laptop, one he had dreamed of owning, but never thought he could afford. His fingers trembled as he held it. I can't accept this," he stammered, staring at the sleek device in his hands. "Oh, but you can," Maye said firmly, her eyes kind yet resolute. "This is just the beginning. I've also arranged for a scholarship fund in your name. I spoke to my son, and he's inspired by your story. He wants to meet you." Marcus and his mother sat in stunned silence, struggling to process the gravity of what was happening. "Why are you doing all this for me?" Marcus finally asked, his voice barely a whisper. Maye smiled softly, her eyes filled with warmth. "Because your act of kindness reminded me of something very important. In a world that can feel so self-centered, you showed me there's still so much good. People like you deserve every chance to shine." As Marcus's mother wrapped her arms around him, tears welling in her eyes, Marcus stood there, a quiet wave of emotions washing over him. Just the night before, he had been helping a stranger without expecting anything in return. Now, that same stranger had just opened doors Marcus had only dreamed of. The kindness he showed had come back to him, tenfold. This was only the beginning of Marcus's transformation. What started as a simple act of generosity would set him on a path he never could have imagined. A path that would soon take him far beyond his small neighborhood, into a future filled with opportunities he never thought possible. As the weeks passed, Marcus found himself immersed in a world he had never imagined. The laptop Maye had gifted him quickly became his tool for transformation. He spent countless late nights diving into technology, designing, and learning new skills. What began as a small act of kindness had set in motion a series of events that were now changing his life forever. One afternoon, while working on a school project, Marcus received an email that made his heart race. The subject line alone stopped him in his tracks. "We'd like to meet you." It was from Elon Musk's team. The email was brief but clear. "We'd like to discuss how we can support your future goals." Marcus stared at the screen, his mind spinning. He read the message again, then again, struggling to believe what he was seeing. The following week, he and his mother found themselves boarding a private jet, heading to California. As they soared high above the clouds, Marcus could barely contain his excitement. They were about to meet one of the most influential people in the world. Everything about the trip felt surreal. When they arrived at SpaceX headquarters, Marcus was in awe. The campus was enormous. Rockets stretched into the sky, and state-of-the-art technology surrounded him. It felt like stepping into a different world, one that was so far beyond his own reach just days ago. But now it was his world too. Elon Musk greeted them with a friendly handshake. "I've heard a lot about you, Marcus. Maye spoke very highly of you. Your kindness and work ethic are rare," he said, his voice warm and genuine. Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. "I never expected anything like this. I just wanted to help someone," he replied quietly. Elon smiled. "That's exactly why you're here. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest opportunities." As they toured the SpaceX labs, Elon asked about Marcus's future goals and his ideas for projects. For the first time, Marcus was surrounded by people who believed in his potential. They encouraged him to think bigger, to dream beyond the limits he had once placed on himself. Later, in a meeting room, Elon leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I want to help you, Marcus. We're offering you a full scholarship to any university of your choice. And that's not all. We've lined up mentors who will guide you, helping you turn your dreams into reality." Marcus' eyes filled with tears. This is more than I ever imagined," he said, his voice shaky with emotion. His mother, who had been quietly observing, put her hand on his shoulder. "You've earned every bit of this, Marcus. I'm so proud of you." At that moment, surrounded by the brightest minds in the world, Marcus understood something he hadn't fully realized before. Selflessness has a way of coming back tenfold. His life was no longer just about surviving. It was about seizing every opportunity, chasing his dreams, and making a meaningful impact. Back home, everything had changed. His classmates began to look up to him as a leader. His teachers saw his potential, and his community embraced him as a symbol of hope. People reached out to him for advice, and Marcus shared what he had learned, always encouraging others to act with kindness. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, his mother reminded him, "Never forget where you came from." "I won't," Marcus said, his voice filled with determination. "But now I know I can go anywhere." His journey had just begun, and it was clear that the simple act of kindness he had shown had unlocked a world of opportunity. Marcus was ready to take on whatever came next, knowing that when you lead with a pure heart, the possibilities are endless. Marcus's story shows us just how powerful a simple act of kindness can be. A single decision to help someone, like fixing a flat tire, can set off a series of events that change everything. It's proof that kindness, no matter how small it may seem, can have an impact that's bigger than we ever expect. That's the main takeaway. Never underestimate the power of a kind act. It might not feel like much in the moment, but it can open doors and create opportunities that are beyond your wildest dreams. So now it's your turn to reflect. What act of kindness would you do if you had the chance to make a real difference in someone's life? Think about how your actions could change the course of someone's day, and how that might ripple out in ways you can't even predict. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. If Marcus's journey has inspired you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. Together, we can spread kindness far and wide, touching more lives than we can imagine. The world is full of possibilities, and it's waiting for people like you to take the first step. What's your next move?